Hey YouTube, this is Mochismo Eugene. How's it going? This video is going to be real good. I think we say that a lot about videos, but this one in particular is one that I've been meaning to do for a long time, because in times past, most recent as last night, is what I'm going to speak to in particular. But even going farther back, when awakening in 2020 from narcissistic personality disorder abuse, I saw myself getting involved with what I'm sure you guys are familiar with as borderline personality disorder. Now, there's not a whole bunch that I see any content creator talking about whereas it regards borderline personality disorder. We know about the spectrum and everything like that, but it's been my experience, and that's what I'm going to talk from. And in short, to give you an overview of borderline personality disorder, in contrast or in parallel to full-on narcissist, from what I've gathered in 3 years of listening and a little bit of reading, but really listening to specifically Sam Vaknin, I've discovered and realized from listening to him that a borderline personality disorder person is essentially someone that a parent or caregiver, being the narcissist, attempted to raise the child as a narcissist, but the borderline personality disorder child who ends up becoming this has a vast amount, well, I won't say a vast amount of empathy, but they have a fair amount of empathy, so they know how to feel what other people are going through. Now, that's one thing that differs from the narcissist, because they lack empathy, they lack remorse, they lack all of these things that are genuinely from the heart. They're pretty much heartless, narcissists are. But unlike the narcissist, the borderline personality disorder, they want to be, I believe, in many ways, normal. A narcissist, on the other hand, they believe what they are doing and how they're behaving is normal. Another thing I've observed, and I've been involved with a couple, and I was engaged with one last night in conversation, and we'll get to that too. And that's why it's pressing on me to talk about this. And what you guys should also know, that including this individual who knows my YouTube channel or my YouTube page, which is this, Mochismo Eugene. I gave it to her. She is a content creator with 35,000 subscribers. She is very savvy when it comes to the ins and out of what this narcissistic or narcissist thing is. I admired everything that she put out. She's a very extremely attractive woman. So I reached out and emailed her, and I just basically shot my shot, because in my mind, I believe, and I told her this after we began to talk, after she replied to me, I didn't think she would, because in my mind, 35,000 subscribers, you don't got time to be, everybody's probably trying to, hit at her. So she replied to me, you sound, you're very handsome, blah, blah, blah. I want to know more about you. Seemingly some normal, promising stuff. And I was just gung-ho, because believing that she was an abuse victim of narcissistic personality disorder person, I told her I don't believe I can be involved with anybody other than a person that's been abused by these monsters, because we can relate in a way that is unspoken. We don't have to really speak. And so I was just brutally honest and transparent with this individual. And this is my reasoning for putting this out, because what I'm really trying to share with you guys is with regard to borderline personality disorder people, They are as dangerous, maybe not as treacherous and diabolical as a narcissist. They are more of fight or flight. They go through a fight, verbal fight. They'll argue out of the blue. They'll pull an argument out of the blue. And this is what ensued with this individual. She essentially argued by herself simply because she kept on bombarding me to friend her on Facebook. And I have an old account with my, with my real name. I gave her my real name. I divulged a lot of, honest to goodness things about me, to which I don't have any regrets about. The whole city where I live, she's where I live. She informed me that she was in an adjoining county on last Wednesday, which is only 35 minutes away. And I was like, oh, I could have met up with you if we had gotten to know each other earlier. And so it was just so promising with this individual in my mind. And I was just doing hypothetics. I was like, man, blah, 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 if you came here. And she was like, I want to get out of this place. I want to get out of the city. I want to come somewhere where I can get my autistic kid some help. This is the clincher, guys. I'm being brutally honest with you when I tell you about this video. This is the thing that we need to understand more than anything. We talk about narcissists, but rarely do I hear on our forums about borderline personality disorder people. I haven't spoke about them in times past that much, but because I've experienced a couple of them, and this one as recently as last night, the one in which I'm speaking about, I felt it pertinent. I felt it of a great need to make you guys aware that there are some people that are as intelligent as you and I, empaths, and honest to goodness abuse. And don't get me wrong, this is not to slander this individual. I'm not going to use their name. You see me, you're looking at me, you know my page, and I'm sure you may be stalking it now because you need to hear what the residuals of your onslaught of despair and diabolical, ramped up argument you created. You need to see what I'm going to vent about you. I'm just going to explain to people what you are as a borderline personality disorder person. But it won't be you in particular, but it will be about you as well as everyone who has this trait. And this is no apology to you. This is no attack to you, but this is a very minimal, if any, amount of respect for you, because to play on the heart, whether you're a narcissist, borderline personality disorder person, or just a sheer manipulator, con artist like some of us men are. And this was some of the stuff and names that were thrown out at me. For what reason, you say? Because I was adamant about not friending anyone on Facebook. I don't friend people on Facebook. I'm not a fan of Facebook with regards to socializing. I've done WhatsApp. I communicate with people through text because I have their number. I use Facebook for marketplace to go in there and buy things that I really don't need. But she was adamant about just here or there, and it became every 5 minutes, whereas she would be like, "Oh, okay, it's no problem. I understand. It's cool." And in 5 minutes or so, I can't understand why you don't want to give me your Facebook. You don't want to friend me. And after everything and all the cards fell apart with the argument she is having by herself and tried to include me in, which is what borderline personality disorder people do. They create an argument because, let me help you understand what they are from what I've learned. They are very educated on narcissism. She told me, like this other one did, it's almost an identical story. They tell you that their family, they grew up in a whole family of narcissists. Now that may or may not be true, but what happens, I can believe this, she had some contact or effect by way of a narcissist, to affect her in the way that I believe it has, in order for her to have borderline personality disorder. She's essentially a hot mess, not because she wants to be. She probably truly wants out and want off of this roller coaster ride. But the thing with a borderline personality disorder person, I can speak about this because I've actually experienced being involved with one before, a few years ago, and she actually lives like right around the corner from me, as well as the third wife, who was the narcissist, is the narcissist, who I've actually been enlightened by. Before that, I didn't even know what this was prior to 2020. So my point to all of this is she, the borderline personality disorder individual, prior to this engagement with this individual last night. Now, I emailed this individual who I'm speaking about, who has the 35,000 subscribers. My old Facebook page got hacked. I had to get another one, which has 8,000 friends. And she says she goes on this not to socialize as much as she does. She said to get her hustle for her hustle. And I asked her, does she have a job? She has a challenged child, autistic, on the severe spectrum, most severe spectrum, I believe, combative and all. And she went on to tell me, oh, you know, I wanna talk, but can I call you back in 10 minutes? And gave me what I perceived was her real number. I gave her my authentic real number. You know how you can get a number that's not your number? She kind of indirectly divulged that when she was spewing her venom. You think I'd give you my real number? They go from arguing with you about nothing to sprinkling all of the other insults and the deceitful things that they've done leading up to their getting ramped up over nothing, an argument. Because a borderline personality disorder person, they have mad anxieties. They cannot trust. And you know they can't trust first and foremost? They don't trust themselves. They don't trust the learning about something and moving through the phases of growth. They learn something academically and they can reiterate it academically and verbally, but the trauma that they have, in my experience in witnessing this with one, I had taken this individual, not the one last night, it's two specifically, so they keep those separate, but it's the same subject matter. The one who lives around the corner from me, which I was involved with for a short period of time, maybe 2 months. It lasted a very short time because they can barely hang on for that long, and they will just have outbursts. They resemble what a lot of people may think you may be involved with bipolar. You may not really be involved with a person that has bipolar. What you may be involved with is a person who has borderline personality disorder. Now, this is not something I've read up on, but by listening to Sam Vaknin and the experience I've had face to face, this is what I've seen. They go through the motions of they give you the sense that they are the one. I mean, the one, almost as though, almost like the narcissist, but not so much so. With the narcissist, certain things are off. And I'll tell you something else that contrasts the narcissist to, well, the narcissist, when you start paying attention, their whole verbiage is mechanical. It's almost like they'll say the same thing, almost like a pre-programmed robot. And you'll be like, you said that before. But borderline personality disorder people do similar in my experience. But additionally, what my experience was with them that they did was, even though they're educated to some degree, they about the thing that you think you share in common, in this case narcissistic abuse, that was something I thought we were bonding on. And I was so hopeful that, and I was like hypothetical, I say, oh, what if we got land somewhere and just ended up happily ever after with a blended family? Wouldn't that be cool? And I believe in her anxiety, she could not hold on to that possibility because they're anxious. Their anxieties tell them that everyone is out to get them, or everyone is up to no good. Even though you've given them no reason, short of her using the red flag of me not wanting to give her, or not give her my social media because I gave her my first and last name. Now, logically speaking, if I was hiding anything, I wouldn't have given her my first and last name so she could go and type my Facebook in, which she did. And she said, I can see a picture of you and I see 2 kids. And I said to her, that's an old Facebook account, and people have told me, because I have a new one and it has a cake on it, a chocolate cake. I don't even have a picture of this, no pictures of anybody whatsoever on the new one. Because at one point years ago, even before the narcissist, I had wanted to sign out off of Facebook, and I found that you could sign off, you could take your account down, blah blah blah, but all you had to do was just do the email, and you write back like you've never left. And so everyone can attest to this, no secrets there. So what I did while I was sharing, when she finally typed it up, so in her seeing my face or a picture of me, and I'm telling her I don't got no pictures up there, and she was like, I see some pictures, and I was like, that must be an account that people said I've had over the last couple of years. I have not been able to access that, and I'm wondering how other people can access that. And to my knowledge, I'm doing what I need to do to try to do it, but I guess I'm not that savvy. And maybe it be something that I'm just not aware of that I need to do. So, but the point is that as an inactive account, anyone who wants to go there can go there, and they can do my first and last name, and they'll see what I can't see. And so I divulged that to her. I said, well, you may see something that's old account. I don't see it. So in past, we know that narcissists keep a lot of fake accounts. They keep multiple accounts. So in her mind, by me saying I don't do Facebook, I don't want a friend, nobody, that was her apprehension to say, oh, what is he hiding? Because this is the record that's playing in their mind. Especially after trauma, we're all on guard. We're all on heightened alert when people are kind of seemingly fishy. Okay, I get that. But I found, and I told her right off the bat before she requested that I friend her, I had began to say, well, I don't, social media is just no good, to congregate. I like to do verbal interaction over the phone or through text. Limited. I don't want to be on the social website passing information back and forth. And so most empaths and people who have been under this abuse, we say right way, we don't want to be bogged down in that social media stuff, but for the sake of putting content out or whatever kind of channels we have to inform people, we don't want to socialize on there. It's a melting pot of narcs. It's a pool of narcs. To which what I told her, I say, I don't play in that, swim in the water with those narcs. So I don't want to friend you on there. I don't want to connect the dots with anyone. So that's just the way it is. And I didn't emphasize on like respect that, and respect my boundary. I just stood in that. And as time went on, she continued to bring it back up and rehash it. And I just nonchalantly said, well, I don't have anything to hide. And then she like upped the ante. She dialed the knob up. She turned the temperature up. Like, oh, she said, you think I'm dumb? You think I'm new to the game? I created the game. Now, people who say this, not to say she's a narcissist. I really don't care. Because all I know was something got played with. It wasn't really my heart, because I didn't put my heart into that conversation last night, but I did put my emotional mindset into it, and I was hopeful for this situation because I haven't been involved with anyone in probably 3 years seriously endeavoring to be in a relationship. So no plex, I thought that this was a possibility, that this would have been the one. And she's extremely attractive, and I showed the picture to someone, and they said she has reptilian. she looks reptilian, like Jada Pinkett. And when they said that, I kind of like reanalyzed her whole facial and took it all in. And I had noticed her eyes, like the slant cat eyes, but they're kind of gold, brown, light brown, with her black hair, and and I'm describing her. But again, this is not. I'm not here to slander her, but I do want to warn you all, if in fact you have any kind of indication who I may be talking about, just be mindful, because this video suggests to say people can be anything in front of this camera. But when I began to talk to her initially, I felt, I was just like, hey, you just seem so down to earth. I'm just giving her mad compliments, but they're authentic compliments. And I stand on them. I don't take any of it back. I never disrespected her. She became very, very angry about this Facebook not friending her. And I sent her a long text after she hung up on me, after she ramped up and got that anger in that angry mode, which is what they do. It's almost like they're discarding you, but they have no control over the gas pedal. It's like their foot is stuck on the gas pedal in their emotions, is how I would describe it. They get ramped up, almost like a bipolar person, and there's no calming them down. You can talk to them with the rationale of a priest, and you can say, listen, I don't know why you're insulting me. I just don't want to friend you, and I don't want to friend anybody. It's nothing personal. And she just was, I don't know why you think I'm a fool, and just started the guillotine, just vilifying me. And I remained calm and just continue to try to, like, what you call de-escalate the situation. And it wasn't resonating, because in right way then I knew the light came on, and I said to myself, she's behaving exactly identically like the girl I dated for a short time, and my children were able to experience this with the girl I'm speaking of. I dated a couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. They experienced this, because when she had her blow up and ramped up, we were driving home from the old couple that I've told you about, that gave me $1,000 out of the blue one day, and who I inevitably, and they also gave me a $5,000 check to retain a lawyer for the divorce, to which I went to the lawyer's office and I surmised he was a narcissist just by when they exchanged conversation. I know I'm getting off that topic, but this is pertinent to when she had ramped up, the girl I dated, the borderline, before discovering this one last night. We took her on a trip over there to the elderly couples camp. They had a camp by the lake, and she was they talk a mile a minute. I mean, I talk a lot, but what I'm trying to show you the difference is, she was a guest of mine that I took somewhere, and some people, they're slow to ease into a conversation with people, and then everybody just start yakking. That's normal. But with regards to a borderline personality disorder person, they talk in a way, and people who've studied borderline personality disorder, they will see this in the description, and this is some of the traits. They will talk a mile a minute, almost like bipolar. And there are certain parallels to bipolar and borderline personality disorder. I think the term bipolar should be carefully looked at, again, in the scope of survivors. Damn the psychologists, they get it right academically, but they haven't scratched the surface spiritually, because we know these demonic possessions are straight from pits of hell. This is trauma on its head. I'm going to show you the difference. I believe I've gone through traumas in my life Dad used to beat the shit out of me, or the hell out of me, whatever you want to say, because he was an alcoholic, drunk, come home, just little things. We didn't pick something up, like a pencil would be on the floor, it probably falling off of the counter. Just an example. It would be the pettiest of things. He would wake us up in the middle of the night to go out by the grill where he was barbecuing ribs with his buddies 3 in the morning, to make us sing church songs, just to impress his friends at 4 and 5 and 6 years old, or whatever ages we were. And he would just do a lot of preposterous things. And I understand now that that wasn't normal, but I was blessed with the grace of God that I didn't grow up with, I believe, borderline personality disorder or narcissism. Although I believe narcissistic traits, I followed in certain negative, low vibrating individuals' behavior, because for reasons we know, we want to be liked, we want to be accepted, we want to be associated with people with influence, so we go along to get along. Now, that being that, I'm trying to make a big point here. I could have very well been what I'm speaking about with this borderline personality disorder, but I wasn't. But the traumas that lead these people to becoming narcissists and borderline personality disorder, they've made these individuals, which are often children who are now adults, that drag your life through the mud. They take you through hell and back. They have made a pact with the devil. We, fortunately, have been able to introspect, look back at some of the things that we went through and say, man, now I understand why I went through that. That's not me. I don't want to be that way. So that's a self-reflection, introspecting, and we can reflect on our past and use it to help us move forward. Now, someone who's traumatized in a very severe way, they're stuck there. They cannot, for the life of them, and this specifically as it pertains to borderline personality, that for the life of them, they've been so fractured throughout. The trauma has been so intense and repetitive. And those are the key words: intense and repetitive and extreme, locked in closets, or give an example. People may know the story of the grandma that made the granddaughter run around the house as punishment for eating an ice cream out of the refrigerator that without asking, or something like that. I vaguely remember, but I do remember the details, the factual points of her making the granddaughter run around the house multiple times with no water, no hydration, and the granddaughter essentially dehydrated. She passed out, and the grandma, I don't know if she went to her aid immediately, but eventually, inevitably, the girl succumbed to her dehydration. This is the extremes that malignant narcissists and other narcissists, I would just say all narcissists, or worst case scenario narcissists, malignant, they will go to these extremes. They will go to these extremes because it's not even a punishment of sorts for the crime or the offense at hand. It is more for the satisfaction and to soothe their emotional dysregulation. And in doing so, the more they're punishing the victim, it's like a drug. It's like the endorphins in their brain are getting stimulated. Sort of like maybe Hitler. He got a high off of other people's destruction and misery and pain and suffering. Kind of like Pharaoh. This has always been around. And I don't need to have a specific way I'm going about this, I believe, but I really am going to stay in the borderline personality disorder arena for the most part, because this is something that's not really spoken about in specific, because we're narcissists. Borderline personality, I'll tell you something else I've experienced about borderline personality disorder, and I don't want to keep repeating that word as that. I think I want to shorten it as B.P.D. Let's do that. B.P.D. B.P.D. also I've experienced with this individual. Not the content creator, and I'll use that as a sub label for her, and as opposed to the girl I was in a relationship with. Content creator, B.P.D. 2-month relationship. The 2-month relationship, B.P.D. She was kind. They're kind. It seems genuinely kind when you get along with them and you are doing something with it. The sex with her, the 2-month B.P.D. was extremely no holds barred. It was uninhibited. It was just, it was everything. Kind of like it would be with the narcissists. That's their go-to. You know, the ones who do lead with their body. It was extremely good. It was extremely good. And we both. She was a gamer. Probably still is. And that's a stimuli for them. This is the drugs they need. And often you will find a B.P.D. Well, I won't speak to that because I don't know. She smoked a lot of weed. I don't think she drank like that, but she did smoke a lot of weed. She almost had to be high every day. So you guys out there smoking weed every day may not constitute you got B.P.D, but if you gotta smoke weed every day, you got a weed problem, and there may be some underlying problem. I'm just saying. I drink too many energy drinks, so we all got something that we're dealing with. No one's a perfect person. This is green tea. I like these. No one's a perfect person. But we're dealing with people. That's beside the point. We're dealing with people that are dangerous to themselves. Therefore, they are a danger to you. So let's just keep that straight. This individual, B.P.D. content creator. I'll stand on that. Yep, you're B.P.D. And it's unfortunate for you, and I'm speaking to you. It's unfortunate for you. I don't care about. And I got off subject. I was going to tell you the B.P.D, the 2-month relationship. What I found is they don't sabotage you. They don't smear your name. As far as I know, they leave quietly. They don't want no smoke. After they ramp up and they argue with you, they're out. She brought the 2-month B.P.D relationship. She texted me shortly after she had her. I was trying to calm her down after I got her out of my car. When we went to these people's house on the way back, she started an argument by herself. She's like, just give me a minute. It's just like out of the blue. And I looked back in the car in the back seat of my kids, and I had already known about borderline personality disorder. And I had also realized that she could possibly be that. I didn't tell you guys that as I was dating her, because she had little slight, she ramped up a time or two before that. She got really upset and angry, and they always want to blame you and make you the punching bag for that. I told you, you just got to give me a minute. This was in the car. I told you, just give me a minute. I said, take all the time you need. I say, I don't know what's got you upset, but oh well. And because I wasn't hitting that ball back that she was serving me in this tennis match of sort, it didn't make the matter any better. She just, like I say, she began to argue with herself, because they pull things out of the air to create a narrative like you don't understand them. And this is at a point when they're having struggles. The trauma is so intense. I would believe that they're just having voices of the individuals who traumatized them. The voices are coming back to haunt them. I don't know. Just speculation, but it just makes no logical sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. They start this argument, and with this B.P.D content creator, like I say, man, it's a very unfortunate thing. And the reason why I'm on here, because she is essentially, I wouldn't say a snake in the grass, but she's on here talking about narcissists, and everything she says is spot on. And I even told her, I said some content creators on here to which I don't ever try to speak negative about, but I went in on a couple, two of them, to which I think we already know, two content creators that were at war with each other, one being male and one being female, a while back. And I don't subscribe to them. They just had a lot of riffraff. They didn't have a flow. It wasn't harmonious or anything. They were angry people. So I mentioned that. I was just kind of like, I was open book with her, because again, I perceived, and I kind of, when looking back, you say, maybe I should have just kind of went slower with divulging information. But I guess I was a little more giddy than I should have been in thinking that, because she was reciprocating, but her, her knowledge. But I look back, she didn't go in specific. She said, my whole family's narcs. They'll give you a sub label. They'll give you like a generalization like that. They'll throw a general statement out there. But to go in detail, she was listening to me, and she would throw something in as far as a description of narcissists and the things they do as it pertains to their behavior. But she wouldn't like interject, the one I was with, he blah, blah, blah. So that was the thing that was messing with her. Looking back, and now I understand why, because on the surface they seem like they are victims of narcissistic abuse, and in essence she could be. Don't have time to analyze it any further, because obviously she blew that bridge up because of her outbursts and became very aggressive, but because of the not friending her on Facebook. So they don't give you the details of what they went through. She didn't give me the details, short of just saying the ex-husband isn't involved in the autistic kid's life. He doesn't help with the autistic kid at all. She's the only one that has to help him. And she did iterate that her family thinks and suggested that she should put her kid, in a facility to where they can better care for him and help him. She also spoke to the point her kid almost, I guess, short of, could have potentially killed her last week. The police had to be called. So all of this stuff, I'm thinking, man, this is a dire situation. Should I even engage in this? This is deja vu, because the soon-to-be ex-wife, she has an autistic kid. And I went on to tell her, I met this one at a church. She had an autistic kid. Looking back at it, I think the kid drew me in, and I don't think I felt sorry for him, but he was just an angelic kind of guy. It just was really witty and funny, because he was on a higher, his intellect was on a higher spectrum. He wasn't, when I say higher, he went to regular school. He was probably in special ed, but his intellect was seemingly normal. He had the sensitivity things, blah blah, a few of the other little traits of autism, but he wasn't. He had perfect speech. He wasn't. Her child, the B.P.D content creator, I heard her child in the background, and he doesn't utter speech. He's speech impaired. So it's on a very severe. It's not, maybe not the severest, but it's on one of the severest spectrums. So he'll always have to be cared for 24 hours a day. And with that being said, she is, I believe, doing narcissist video because one, ex-husband probably in fact could have been a narcissist and he abused her. Now her being borderline personality and her discovering that as a result of her family upbringing, that's really where her B.P.D developed. It always develops inside of a home structure, as far as I've understood. Now, meeting the husband and being gullible, as we always all are before we realize these people, and even what we know now, I've gotten involved with narcs. So this lifelong endeavor we're at with this. Nobody's so sharp as to the point where we can see these people, like we say, a mile away. We can perceive what we see based on some cues, some flags. But us being empathetic, we don't so much let our guard down. We live authentically. And when people reciprocate what looks like authenticity, to which a narcissist can really fake it, they can feign authenticity very well. Because some of them can lure us in and draw us in for 6 months, a year. They are very patient in many ways. If they got other supplies, they can massage you for a long period of time, and red flags can be here or there, and to which we may dismiss them because they are not adding up all at once. You may have one here, one there, and that's the way we do the math on that. We say, well, okay, they're being selfish right now, but maybe I'm overreacting. And the intuition is saying something, and we need to just like emphasize, and we need to just like focus in on the behavior and the body language. But they know how to clean it up. They are smart enough to detect when we talking narcissists, as opposed to borderline personality. Borderline personality, they may be able to detect when we are on to some of the body language cues we should be looking at. They may surmise, but I believe borderline personality disorder, they're very reckless. They're reckless in a very illiterate way, or adolescent way. And it has nothing to do with intelligence, because as we know, narcissists as well as borderline personality, highly intelligent people. But we're not talking, intelligence has nothing to do with it as it pertains to the disorder itself. The disorder makes them not be able to be on a continuum like you and I may be. We may be on a continuum. We see the course through, if you will. They don't see the course through. They may have every intentions of going from point A to point B, but in somewhere along the line, the wires get crossed. And it's like trying to feed a wire or through a conduit. If you're an electrician, you can relate to this. You're pushing that wire through, and say if you're trying to push it through and you have a void, it's a void, and you're trying to push it through to the other side to go in that orifice, and in doing so, it hits a snag and doesn't hit spot on. It jams and it ravels and it goes all over the place. So this is what I would say as an analogy for that. So I'm just happy that this interaction with this individual, the B.P.D content creator, I'm happy that it happened earlier, sooner rather than later. They also sabotage, whether deliberately, I believe it's not deliberately. I would just really, something within me believe they sabotage a relationship, not recklessly. What's the word I'm trying to find? They sabotage it unknowingly, out of the anxiety and the anxiousness, because she couldn't. The B.P.D content creator who kept on asking me, why don't you want to friend me on Facebook? You must have something to hide. You think I'm stupid? I had been down this road before. I'm not. This is not my first rodeo. You think I'm new to the game? I created the game. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just simply don't want to friend anyone. I'm not going to friend you on Facebook. This is not going to be an avenue to where we're going to, because giving her my Facebook should have been transparent enough. Again, they sabotage relationship because the logic is what I want to really say about that. I got their logic becomes skewed. It becomes foggy. It's like, I need these to see small letters. It becomes blurry. And so if I was trying to drive and I didn't have my glasses on, or they fell off for some reason, or the windshield fogged up and I'm driving and didn't slow down to pull off to the side of the road and continue to try to drive, I'm driving pretty much not knowing what's ahead of me. I don't even know where the center line is. So I'm gonna panic. So this is what a borderline personality disordered person does, I believe. They panic thinking one or many different things in this moment. I think they're thinking maybe, like you say, you're hiding something, you're up to something, you're trying to make a fool, you taking them for a fool. That's the most key thing, I believe. They think someone is going to take advantage of them, and they will say it. They will speak to you what their anxiety is telling them. They won't say, my anxiety got me thinking that you up to something. They won't implement, my anxiety or my restlessness or my B.P.D has me doubting you. They would say, they say, you up to something. You must be hiding something. You're a suspect to them, and there is no crime. You're a suspect, and there is no crime. Because what you've done, you've basically just said, I don't want to do that. So it's similar to the narcissist. When you say no to the narcissist, it causes a narcissistic injury. With the borderline personality disorder person, it causes them equally to panic, and they rage in a different way, I think, but in the same way, they get angry, but they don't seem to be, in my opinion, in my experience, they're not dangerous. They're just verbally angry. They're not physically angry, as far as I've experienced. The 2-month relationship with the B.P.D individual around the corner, at no time did I ever sense a threat. They didn't even they didn't initiate, wasn't pushing, wasn't shoving. It's like they vent verbally and then they recoil, and then they'll keep going, and then they keep going. It's just like it's like a pot boiling. You cannot, the knob is broke. You can't turn it down. You can't do anything to bring them down. A lot like bipolar, from what I've read and people have described. And a little bit of rambling, but the key here is I discovered what I thought I would have already known. I discovered that after 3 years of, and I don't put a lot of videos out, and they also encouraged me, say, you should be putting more videos out. I thought it was kind of cool for her to take initiative to write me back through an email, and I was so flattered. I was like, wow, she said the same thing, we flattered. So in one of her videos, I even told her, I say, I like what you say, you know, they blah blah, you know, narcissists, they'll charm you, blah blah. I say, you know, people used to say I got the gift of gab, I'm charming. I say I used to kind of like that compliment before I ran into the awareness of narcissistic personality disorder abuse. And I said, but now I take it as a badge of honor, but I don't relish in it, if you understand what I mean. I take it because authentically, if I'm telling somebody I like something about you, I really do mean it. And in regards to her, I just had to tell her how beautiful I thought she was, because, and I still think she's beautiful. I think she was beautiful, beautiful girl, in a different kind of way. Not so much as I'm trying to aggress and get from point A, or first base, second base, third base. And I even said as much. I say, man, I can see us, you know, cuddling, you know, because our energy, we have conversation. I said, I've always wanted a person that understands this kind of abuse, where I wouldn't have to just sit around and be apprehensive of that person, thinking in the back of my mind, am I involved with another one? It's just, you know, and having to hold back who I am to that person. So I just, you know, kind of bearing my heart a little bit, thinking it was promising. And she go and did this. It was like, almost like I got Chris rocked. I got slapped. I felt like Chris Rock, if this is what he felt like. You know, you just being authentically normal and out of the blue, erratic behavior. And that's kind of what I've experienced. That is what I've experienced by way of these two B.P.D individuals. And I stand on that. In my opinion, humble opinion, I believe that this is what they're struggling from. And you got my content. I mean, you have my website, you have my email, you have my first, middle, and last name. I really am not, I'm not put off by that. It's unfortunate that you gathered all that information from someone who was authentic with you, who was genuine with you. And well, this is kind of like me, you know, going down the rabbit hole of trying to get some reckoning. But I'll save that. I'll just reserve that, because I believe that there is some ray of hope for borderline personality disorder. I've been told by Sam Vaknin, I believe, or someone in that capacity, that there is therapy and hope for borderline personality disorder. But I'm here to say this on a spiritual note. If you don't believe in God, you probably should definitely, the latter being definitely, ask God to forgive you and genuinely mean it. How you know you mean it? You'll get some help. And I actually texted her shortly after that and said, paraphrasing, your hostility, I don't have the phone, I'm videoing with the phone. Your hostility kind of, showed me the light, if you will. And I was like, it seems like you have a trauma, not being mean to you. And I say, you know what? After I came out of narcissist abuse, I reached out to better help, and I definitely would recommend it to anyone. Didn't specifically say her. And she obviously, I didn't expect her to text me back, because a lot of times they don't, because they know they just go, well, she don't know I know she's borderline. She didn't know that I perceived that she was borderline personality disorder by name until now. And she said game over when she was like, oh, you trying to con me, you can't con the con. And not really realizing what she was saying about herself. You can't con a con. They get ramped up, man, and they just start talking off of the wall. and they have no, I don't think they have no remorse or no guilt about it, to the point where they say, well, I'm sorry. You'll never get an apology from a borderline personality disorder person, from what I understand, because the 2-month BPD, they've never reached back out to me. I think they brought my stuff and dropped it. I had like a few personal underwear and stuff over her house, because I would go there and chill a night here and there. This is the BPD 2-month relationship. So short of her dropping that off, a short time after she had ramped up and got irate, I haven't seen her anywhere out and about. She stays in the house all the time, because whenever I take the street, because they don't live far from me, and sometimes I have to go, or I don't have to, but there are many streets that lead to the same place. And so inadvertently, I'll take that street. And when you've been involved with somebody, you look and see the car there. So and that's her MO. I know that when I was dating her. She doesn't go anywhere. She's a gamer, smoke weed, don't have a job. And with this individual who has 35,000 views or subscribers, I asked her, do you work? She said, well, I work from home part-time because I'm caring for my son. Your story is your story, but you definitely got BPD, and it's unfortunate that you wanted to take me to the slaughterhouse for no reason whatsoever. Well, there's a reason, because that's what you somehow have to do sometimes, because that's what the disorder tells you have to do. It's like fight or flight, and because of me not wanting to friend. And then she texted me, as I was speaking about before, a long paragraphed text, as I had sent her 3 or 4 long ones. And I spoke about my first wife, the abuse I took my wife through, why it became physical. And I had said, well, anyway, the text she sent me was like, you need better help. It's by the way you blah, 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 blah. So the insulting it continued, and to which I never counted with insults. So to which a narcissist will not insult. They kind of have to have the last insult. And so, my silence can speak volumes on the insult tip. I don't have to insult and counter insult. But the retribution that I think you'll pay with BPD or being a narcissist or any kind of malicious stuff that you do to a person in this world, I think we will have an accounts and balances to do, and myself included. Whatever I do on this earth, be it bad or good, malicious intent, intentional or unintentional, we will reap what we sow, I believe. But I'm not here to convince anyone of that. So I was getting to the point of her having this channel and making this content, which it is very, very, I told her, your content is very informative. You're very informative. You know what you're talking about. And witty. She's kind of funny. And I told her, I like your accent, and you just like certain things you say. She's like, oh yeah, I keep saying, or whatever phrase she pointed out to me, to which I never noticed that until she told me. But we all say that or whatever. We say things repetitively, but that's a part of what made, I believe, her unique, or makes her unique on her channel. And just seems like she's calm, cool, and collective to talk about this issue that's pervasive in our world. You can't be mad at somebody who's informing the masses of just being careful. And I just think her only Achilles heel is suffering from the results of that abuse. And with BPD, it's unfortunate that they won't right way embrace what you see in them. They will go on the attack. They will go on the defense. And I just hope this video, if she happens to watch it, and I think she will, there's no hard feelings with you. Actually, I don't have any feelings towards you, good or bad. I really It's kind of like I don't see you the way that I saw you. It's a very sour taste in my mouth because of, I think, the deceptive aspect of getting to know you and divulging myself to you, all to have it thrown back on me and misused and misappropriated and mislabeled. That is never a good thing for a person to do. And the person on the receiving end, just keeping it real, you're a fool if you continue to allow a person to do you that way. You shouldn't allow a person to just do you any kind of way and it be okay. So that's not okay. But I wish you well in your life, and you just gotta get that right. You gotta correct that some kind of way. God have mercy on you. So everyone, borderline personality disorder, this is something that's never been talked about enough, because this is the subtle side of narcissism. As I said before in the beginning, borderline personality, I'm leaving you with this, are individuals that the narcissist parent or caregiver, be it grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever sibling, tried to train and recruit to become a narcissist, but they were unable to succeed because before the borderline personality becomes borderline, they had a fair amount of empathy. They had a fair amount of raw emotion. Just like a child, a baby. Like, let's say, and I told her this, I said, there's a stark similarity to narcissism and autism in right way. She said, no. She said, what was her reply? Before she even could hear me out, she was like, no, and I was like, to what degree the similarities are, I said, I really can't speak to that. I say, but I believe in all the things that I've read and how I've been around and involved in an autistic kid's life. I believe there is some similarities. And I guess she got on the guard and shut it down indirectly, because no one wants to even perceive the reality, whether real or imagined, that their autistic kid who's already disabled could have similarities of a narcissist. I will someday somehow clarify how I see this and what I see, but I believe I'll have to do some more research on it and give you a specific reasoning and a rationale to why I've come to this conclusion. And it is very, very intriguing to me when I look at some of the, and Sam Vaknin can speak to this as well, and I don't draw from just what he said, because this is stuff I'm hearing in the background of my mind from him. But just most recently, it's kind of like empaths. We have these thought process when we get alone and we spend time by ourselves and we're rebuilding ourselves. We're doing the shadow work, the inner work, as Denzel Moss likes to say. Any of these content creators that talk about getting out and getting into nature, we are becoming at one with ourselves first and foremost, because we're getting at one with nature. Nature is the closest thing, I believe, to getting us to our true self. It's one of the ways. The Bible, if you're not a fan of the Bible, whether you are or not, I believe the book of God is the main avenue. But he created the earth. And in order to get to a place of serenity and solace, to even be interested in the Word of God, I think could be a first step is getting out into nature. Listening to nature, birds, the water. God speaks through those things as well. He speaks through it. He speaks through the wind. He speaks through the air. And this is my belief, and this is what I believe. Each man and woman has to find and search the truths out for themselves. Don't take our words, us who believe in God, because that's a no-go. Be inspired by us, by all means. You have to be inspired. Everything we've done started with an idea. We get our ideas outside of ourselves, and internally we think. Well, because we think of something, we think it originated inside our head, but it actually originated outside. We took on things from our visual, our senses, our hearing, our smell, taste, and we begin to ponder, and that's how we arrive at the idea. And all of those things, those ideas, are inspired by God. I mean, you may say, well, even bad ideas? Well, God is not a God of destruction. He builds. And if anything he has destroyed, it is because it was not of him. It went outside of the parameters of what he held solid and pure. God doesn't like evil, so when you do things that are evil and your intents are evil, sometimes it's not a good look. So the autism and the narcissism parallel, I definitely do want, and I aim to do something about that topic, and I'm not going to shy away from it. And if it's triggering for some of you guys here, I would hope that you're very understanding in knowing that this is no pot shots on autistic children or autistic individuals. This is solely because if God inspires me to speak, I'll speak. See, when you coming into yourself, you really don't. You really can stand in your truth, and your truth is your own. And as people like to say, I'm gonna stand on my truth. I'm standing on that, and it's like a forcible. I'm gonna stand on that. Let it be said, and obviously, just wait for the onslaught of the onslaught of attacks, because it comes with it. So I knew this video was going to be an hour. I already knew that. A little repetitive, but I want you guys to know that I escaped the bullet. I escaped the bullet again. And we always are going to escape the bullet, because God watches over those who he loves. He won't let any harm come before you. So, single life, and it's not glamorous, but it's not boring at all. This brother got plenty of things to do, and I got plenty of things, my children, my twins, to keep me occupied. I got a loving family, wholesome living over here, and decent job. I'm healthy as I can be, I think. Well, I could be healthier, but I feel pretty good and just healing. And I would definitely encourage you guys to look into borderline personality disorder, which is a topic that I rarely hear spoken of on here. It's very pertinent to the whole narcissism spectrum. So with that being said, bless.